Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever the case may be. Welcome to a Way Offsides Pop In Recruiting Update, your favorite source for recruiting information around the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama missed on one today. We kind of all saw the writing on the wall, it was coming. We missed on one a few weeks ago. In June, Alabama held official visit for five-star wide receiver out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Derek Meadows. It seemed like Bama was a lock there. Meadows was originally supposed to commit last weekend and then moved his commitment date to today, July 20th. The Meadows had originally been committed verbally to Notre Dame, but all of the heat started moving, all the smoke, all the talk started moving away from the Fighting Irish over to Alabama after his official visit, um, and he became a high value target for Alabama. About 2 weeks ago, LSU jumps in the ring. Oregon was in there a little bit. Uh, and it looks like, as of right now, today, Derek Meadows, he did commit, but he committed to LSU. So, what does that look like moving forward? Really, it's hard to tell because this is a verbal commitment. And just because a phone, someone says they're going somewhere, it doesn't mean that the phone calls stop. It doesn't mean that the promises stop. It doesn't mean that the recruiting efforts stop. That applies to Alabama as well. There's a lot of guys that are verbally committed to Alabama right now who are still getting phone calls, who are still getting text messages and all these other things from other coaches, other players, trying to get them to come to their respective school. One of note is Caleb Cunningham, who is visiting the Big Cat Weekend at Auburn. If you haven't seen our video on there, I'll link it up to the top. You can click on it, take a peek. It's actually a good video. Nothing to worry about there with Caleb Cunningham. He's been very vocal since that news broke that he was going to visit Auburn as well as Ole Miss, and that he is not flipping. We'll see if he's a man of his word. As for Derek Meadows, yeah, all the smoke, everything that was pointing towards Alabama has officially died out, and he will be an LSU Tiger, which is fine. I really can't fault him for the decision. LSU has a storied history of good wide receivers. They're about to bring in one of the best quarterback in this class in Underwood, and so he wants to play with that guy, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. So what happens next? Where does Alabama look next? Because really, a lot of the wide receivers are off the board except for one, and we all know who that is. That is Khalil Lockett. Now, your brain would tell you immediately that, well, if Meadows isn't coming, then maybe Lockett is. Um, Although that may be the case, it's hard to say that Lockett will commit to Alabama with Texas in the picture, him being a Texas guy. Um, Texas is they've kind of fallen off in terms of recruiting their class right now. It's just not where it was. Um, but we'll see what happens. Lockett is scheduled to commit on August 7th. Um, Alabama's still very much in play there, but it seems like the betting favorite right now for Khalil Lockett is Texas. So we'll see what happens. So, in terms of other recruiting news, there's really not much to go on right now. AK Deer, everybody's still kind of waiting on that. There are some rumors out there swirling that there's some grade issues and things like that. So we'll see how that plays out. But in terms of Alabama's board, they've pretty much gotten everybody they're going after except for one person. And we'll post a video about that tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it. So keep in mind, Alabama's recruiting class right now, in terms of wide receivers, is solid. Assuming they can keep Latsier Brooks, Caleb Cunningham, it's not a bad recruiting class at all in terms of wide receiver. It actually rivals that 2017 class. We've talked about that before in videos. Um, in fact, I mean, it almost mirrors the 2025 class with Keelan Russell. Just if you look at how the class is structured right now, this 2025 class, it almost mirrors that 2017 class, which should make you very excited because we all know how storied that 2017 class is. Class with Tua, Jerry Judy, Najee Harris, Mac Jones, players like that. So I'm not saying they're as good, but what I'm saying is that Kalen DeBoer and company have structured their class very much like that 2017 class. Alabama's not hurting at wide receiver either. Something else to keep in mind is although, um, we lost a guy like Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond was probably our most short-handed receiver last year, right? We all remember 4th and 31, this and that. But I do believe that in terms of play calling, the rest of the core was kind of underutilized. It seemed to try to feature Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton. Um, but Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law, those guys aren't scrubs. And don't forget, just brought on Ryan Williams, who is going to be, we all know the expectation for Ryan Williams. Kalen DeBoer talked about him at SEC Media Days. A lot of guys are talking about him and how he is just going to be an immediate impact guy. It's going to be hard to keep him off the field his freshman year. I'm sure he'll get some packages, some playing time. But all of those guys have eligibility for next season as well. The only one I see really potentially going out is Kendrick Law, who we think is going to be Alabama's X factor. He's going to be their offensive, just kind of breakout player for this coming up season. But as for the other guys coming in, Alabama doesn't really need to beef up the wide receiving class right now. Next year, maybe. Um, we've got plenty of guys on scholarship who are going to be still on scholarship next year, and then you're bringing in two really good wide receivers. Latsier Brooks will probably be a 4-star once it's said and done, and then obviously Caleb Cunningham is a 5-star. So losing out on Derek Meadows sucks, but it's not the end of the world. It sucks because Meadows being, I think he was 6'5", 200 pounds. He's a red zone. I mean, he's a matchup nightmare. He's a tight end who plays like a wide receiver, especially in the red zone. We've talked about that a little bit, and so losing him isn't ideal. But it's not, again, it's not the end of the world, especially with this Kalen DeBoer offense and this high octane movement that we're going to see Alabama make, or jump that we're going to see Alabama make in 2024. So that is your recruiting update for today, Saturday the 20th. We've got more news coming tomorrow about a guy that we think you should keep an eye on for Alabama when all is said and done. And also, as we say, a little disclaimer, keep in mind, guys, these aren't national letters of intent being signed. These are kids making verbal commitment to a school. Like I said earlier in this video, they're still being called. They're still being recruited by other schools. There's still the potential that guys flip from Alabama or guys flip to Alabama. We'll see what happens in December when the names are on the paper. Do I think that this impacts Alabama's ability to sign the number one class, or to hold on to that number one class? Probably. Probably. I think Bama needed to probably land a couple more 5-stars to hold on to that, because Georgia's going to surge here soon. And then Ohio State still got some guys that they're going to bring in, but that's okay because Bama doesn't have to have the number one class right now. And so if they go out there and win in the fall, start winning in the fall, you're going to see some emotions change. You're going to see some people going, hey, I want to be a part of that. So don't panic about Derek Meadows. Just hang in there. They got a plan. Courtney Morgan's got the bags. It's going to be all right. So until next time, as always, say your prayers, wash your hands, read your Bibles, horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. Roll Tide.